Welcome to the spiritual world of Ravel Faye. Today we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about consecrating spiritual tools. Yes, exactly. No, I'm going to make sure I hit those points. Guides. What can you say, right? Well, consecration. So what exactly is consecration of spiritual tools? Well, essentially what it boils down to is you find a tool that you want to use for your spiritual workings and you give it purpose. You tell it what you want it to do. What is its purpose when working with you? You can run across a whole bunch of fun different tools to use in your day-to-day life. Going to pawn shops, maybe you go to your metaphysical store because you want something that extra special, spicy something. Maybe you end up at, the gem fair. I absolutely love those out here where I'm at. Getting discounts on semi-precious stones and spheres and all that good stuff. But the problem is, when you go and you retrieve these items and you have said, I'm going to use this for my spiritual work, well, they come chock full of different energies. You're right. Sometimes not very good energies. Sometimes energies that are going to conflict with what you want to do with that item. So, what better way than the first thing you do when you get a spiritual item, or the first thing you do when you've got a moment to yourself and you want to consecrate your spiritual item, is to just go ahead, sit down, and take care of it. Now, as you can see, my feline friend has decided that he wants to be a part of this particular video. If you see my cat Frere at any point in time, sorry about that, although he has a wonderful, wonderful camera face. So, cuteness. Anyway, there are plenty of different ways that you can consecrate an item. Consecration literally means to make something spiritual. So you'll hear consecration in regards to churches and all sorts of stuff like that. And that is actually one way you can consecrate a spiritual item, is to pray over it. You can pray, you can chant, you can dance around it, you can sing, you can do all sorts of different things. But the intent is still the same. The intent that you want this item for a certain thing still remains. That being said, I have a method that I'm going to share with you that I thoroughly enjoy and like to use when I'm consecrating items. Now, I do have 3 items here. I've got 2 candles, because I need to replace my air candle and my water candle for my altar behind me. So I'm going to consecrate those 2 candles for representation of the elements that they're going to be used for. And this knife. I have a lot of knives, and some of them are for spiritual workings only, and so that's what I'm going to dedicate this knife for, is for spiritual workings only. This will be my working knife. I will cut with this knife. It's going to get down and dirty if it needs to, but it's all going to be for the purposes of my spiritual practice and nothing more. This knife in my hands will not be used as a weapon. It's a nice, lovely little knife that I actually found over at our local pawn shop. So the method one that I like to use involves a 3-step method. So we've got holy water, cleansing water. This could be any type of water that you use for your spiritual practice. I know people who will use sun water, moon water, holy water. That's just to name a few. I prefer to use the Catholic holy water that I can get a hold of, mostly because it's easy to get for me. So I might as well use it, and it works really well for me. So that's what I will be using here. So water of some type, and incense or smudge of some type. This happens to be white sage. Yet again, kind of live in a deserty area, very easy to come by. But it doesn't have to be this. It can be whatever you like. It can be Palo Santo. It can be sweetgrass. It can be your favorite incense that gets you in the mood. Myrrh and frankincense are also really good resin-based that you can use. Whatever you want to use. The whole point is that it's an incense, that it burns and has smoke. And then the last thing is an oil, an essence oil. This is not edible, this is not doTERRA, this is not Young Living, this is just regular, everyday, you go to the store, essence oil. I happen to get this particular beauty over at our local metaphysical shop back in the day. I hope they're still around. But this is not edible, this is just your basic oil. Right? This one that I'm going to use for this consecration happens to be cinnamon. This is how I was taught in the coven that I worked with for a little bit, and I liked it. It resonated with me. It seemed like it was a good fit. So I continue to use it to this day. But yet again, just like with any spiritual practice, use what you feel is right. The reason I like the cinnamon oil is because of the properties of cinnamon and the fact that it burns. So don't get this close to your eyes once you're done playing. the map. Thumbs up, like, subscribe, and ring the notification. At last, I've found it! Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get this taken care of. And as you're doing this, I know I haven't forgotten. Goodness gracious. As you are doing this, you are, of course, using your senses to kind of feel the energy of the item. So as I'm getting this lovely dagger all nice and wet, I'm reaching out with my energetic senses to see if it's working. Okay. The next thing, we want to make sure we get our lovely incense up to a good burn here. I'm going to use that to cover this dagger from top to bottom with the smoke of the incense. My husband's going to hate me afterwards. He always says it smells like weeds after I do this. I just laugh at him and say, deal with it. Alright. Yes, I know. He can deal with it. That's just how it goes. And while you're doing this, you are, of course, feeling, making sure that it is good. Now, after that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put on the oil. And you want to make sure that you get it nice, saturated, and good. Especially when you're working with something like this. This one's wood. This has a wood handle, so the wood will hold on to things a lot easier. So make sure that you really get down and in there. I'm not allowed to say that on YouTube. Don't you dare get me in trouble. They're having way too much fun. Now that they know that I'm going to be doing this and doing these videos, they want to come out and play. They need to be good little boys and girls. There we go. Making sure you get all the ins and outs. Also making sure that since this is a knife, that you don't cut yourself. The last thing you want to do is to introduce blood to something that doesn't need to have blood on it, or in it, or around it. This is not a blood ritual, so we are not wanting to cut ourselves. Please be careful. And while we're doing this, we of course are imagining, thinking, maybe you've got a chant, something, saying that what you want. For me, I want this to be my spiritual knife. I want this to be my spiritual working knife, or I'm going to use it to cut things. I'm going to direct energy with it for spiritual purposes, all of that good stuff. Right. And you keep working at it, and you keep doing it until you feel that it's done. Nobody's going to know better than you are. That being said, the spiritual knife has now been officially consecrated. It is ready to use and ready to work. It doesn't need to sit and simmer. It's ready to go. And we're going to use it. Because I have these 2 candles that need to be consecrated with the embodiment of the elements that they're going to represent. They're going to go back on my altar. They need to embody those elements. Yellow for me is air, and blue for me is water. Same process. We're going to go ahead. We're going to do our water. We're going to make sure that we get all of it. Make sure we get all of the surface area of your candle. Bottom, get the top, get the wick, get the whole surface. Do that for the blue as well. There you go. Gotta get the little tushy taken care of. Got the wick. All of it. Perfect. What's next? Our incense. Let's get this back up and burning. No, I'm not going to burn the house down. Be nice. And do the same thing. You want to make sure that you are getting all the odds and ends, all the surface area needs to be hit by the smoke. And you just keep doing this until you feel you're ready. So that gets nice and enveloped. All that good stuff, get all in there. There we go. All right. Now these, just like with the knife, you're going to consecrate with what they're supposed to do. These candles are supposed to be representations of the 2 elements. So, as you're taking your oil, and as you're doing the same thing, getting the whole surface area completely covered, you're thinking about, in this case for me, the element air. What does air represent? All of those good things. We will be doing a video regarding the different elements and what their representations are. At least what their representations are to me. Because remember, with everything, it's how you feel. It's your spiritual journey, not mine. I can just give you some guidance and tips along the way. You take what you need and leave the rest. I'm doing the same thing for my blue candle. My blue candle is my representation for water. Yes, water, I know that you have been in my life a lot lately. I know you want me to be an emotional mess, but you are so much more than that. Water's been giving me some pretty hard lessons lately, so. And I'm kicking and screaming about it. And I'm laughing about it. Alright, here we are. They have been consecrated. The last thing I'm going to go ahead and do is use my newly consecrated knife. Newly consecrated working knife. And I'm going to carve my symbols that I have for air and water. Now, there are lots of symbols that are out there, and you can use whatever you feel is appropriate. Okay, for me, I enjoy the triangle symbols for the elements. Relatively easy to what I use. And with that being said, ta-da! That is how you consecrate new items. At this particular point in time, oh guides of mine, do you have anything else you would like me to say that is appropriate? So they don't have anything that's appropriate to say. They have a whole bunch of things that are inappropriate to say. So we're going to leave it at that. As always, thank you so much for being with me as I share some of my spiritual practices. Hopefully they help you. Just remember, my lovelies, to keep smiling, and you make your own happiness. So go out and change the world.